My father said one sentence that made me walk away from him for good. When my 17-year-old son and I were sleeping in our car, I went to my father and asked for help. I didn't ask for money. I didn't ask for anything permanent. I asked for a place to stay. Just a few weeks. He looked me straight in the eye and said there was no room for us in his 4-bedroom house in Queen Anne, the same house where my 16-year-old half-sister has 3 bedrooms to herself, one to sleep in, one for her books, one for her art. What my father didn't realize was that someone had been watching everything, and that someone had plans of her own. Before I read every single one, and it truly means more to me than you know. Now let me take you back to where this story began. 2 years ago, the day my husband walked out and everything started unraveling, I had $52,000 in savings, 10 years of experience as an interior architectural designer in Seattle, and what I believed was a steady, predictable life. Then Caleb happened. He didn't just cheat on me with a woman from his marketing firm. He didn't just pack a suitcase and disappear. Before he left, he emptied our joint account, every single dollar, and left behind $31,500 in credit card debt in both our names. And I paid it. Alone. Because if I didn't, my credit would collapse. And in Seattle, bad credit means no apartment. No second chances. 8 months ago, my mother, Linda Parker, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. She fought for 6 months. I watched her shrink into hospital sheets. I held her hand when she took her final breath. And I buried her with what little money I had left. The medical bills and funeral costs totaled $42,800. I called my father once, just once. "Dad, I need help. Mom's treatments are expensive and That's your mother, Hansol. My ex-wife," he said flatly. "She stopped being my responsibility 20 years ago. Caroline wouldn't approve." He didn't come to the funeral. His excuse? Chloe had a piano recital that weekend. 3 months ago, the design firm I'd worked at for a decade, Cascadia Urban Design Group, declared bankruptcy overnight. No severance. They still owed me $11,200 in back pay. My attorney said it could take 6 months, maybe a year, maybe never. I filed for unemployment immediately. Washington State told me there was a delay, 6 to 8 weeks, because of the bankruptcy documentation. So I used what little cash I had left to pay rent for 3 months and prayed something would open up. Nothing did. The interior design industry had frozen. Projects were paused, firms weren't hiring. Then the eviction notice came. That night, Noah was still wearing his green apron from Starbucks Reserve Roastery in Seattle when he sat down beside me. "Mom," he said quietly, "I asked my manager for more hours. She's letting me work weekends now. We just need enough for a deposit, right? How much more do we need?" I looked at my 17-year-old son, who wakes up at 4:30 every morning to make coffee for strangers, and I felt something inside me crack. "Don't even think about quitting school," I told him. "Your SATs matter more. I'll figure this out." 2 years ago, I had everything. Now I had my ex-husband's debt, my mother's funeral bills, and a bankrupt company that owed me money. Life doesn't warn you before it collapses. Noah started working at Starbucks Roastery when my mom first got sick. He insisted, said he wanted to help. Now he was bringing home about $900 a month, enough to cover gas, phone bills, and basic groceries from Target. But in Seattle, a modest 1-bedroom required at least $4,500 up front, deposit and first month's rent. We weren't even close. And the truth is, my father's indifference didn't begin when we became homeless. It started the day he married Caroline. I was 18 when I discovered the affair. I came home early from school and saw them through the living room window. My father and a woman I had never seen before, kissing on our couch while my mother was at work. My mother never recovered from that betrayal. She carried it for 20 years. I watched it hollow her out slowly. When I graduated from college, my father didn't attend. Caroline was pregnant with Chloe and needed him. When I got married, he gave us $500 in a card. When Chloe was born, he bought Caroline a $18,000 diamond ring to celebrate. I still have his Facebook page bookmarked. Not because I stalk it, Because it reminds me of something I need to remember. Every photo is the same. Edward, Caroline, Chloe. Caption: My whole world. I'm not in that world. I never was. I sent Chloe birthday gifts every year. I never once received a thank you. The night after my mother's funeral, Noah and I were sitting in our car, our new home parked outside a Target in Northgate, when he asked me the question I had been dreading. "Mom," he said softly, "did I do something wrong? Is that why Grandpa never calls me?" That was the question, and I couldn't lie to him anymore. So I told Noah the truth, about the affair, about Caroline, about how his grandmother, my mother, spent 20 years carrying a heartbreak she never deserved, about the man who was supposed to be his grandfather and chose someone else over his own family. Noah swallowed hard. "Grandma always said I worked hard," he whispered. "She said I was just like you. She would have been proud of me, right?" "She was proud of you," I told him. "She told me that every single day." He went quiet after that. Then softly, "I miss her, Mom. I miss her too, baby. Every day." We had been sleeping in our car for 3 nights when something inside me finally cracked. Target parking lot, Northgate, row D. I memorized that row the way some people memorize prayer verses, because every night I stared at the faded white lines on the asphalt, trying not to think about how we had ended up there. At 4:30 a.m., Noah's alarm went off. I watched him push himself upright in the back seat, rubbing his eyes while his breath fogged in the cold Seattle air. He pulled his Starbucks roastery uniform out of a plastic bag we were using as a closet. "I'll get there before 5, he said. "I can shower in the employee bathroom before anyone else shows up." He thought I didn't know. He thought he'd hidden it well. The way he slipped into work early just to clean up. The way he changed inside a restroom stall. The way he never mentioned to his coworkers that he was living in a car. He didn't want pity. He didn't want to lose his job. I watched him drive off in the dark, and I saw what this was doing to him. The shadows under his eyes, the way his jeans hung a little looser now, the small burn on his hand from the espresso machine that he kept brushing off like it was nothing. He was 17 years old, waking up before dawn in a parking lot to make coffee for strangers, coming back at night to do homework under streetlights because we couldn't afford to keep the engine running for the interior light. His SATs were in 2 weeks. He studied on his phone, squinting at practice problems under the orange glow of parking lot lamps. I was still waiting on my unemployment claim. 5 weeks in. At least 2 or 3 more to go. The lawsuit against Cascadia Urban Design Group could drag on for months. The nearest shelter had a 6-week waiting list. I was out of options. Well, almost out. I picked up my phone and stared at my father's contact. Edward Parker. The man who couldn't show up to my mother's funeral. The man who erased me from every family photo he posted online. I watched my son disappear into the pre-dawn darkness to work a job that barely covered our gas money, and I made my decision. Even if it meant calling the man who wasn't there when my mother took her last breath, I had to try, not for me, for Noah. He answered on the 4th ring. "Hansol." Not hello, just my name. Flat, distant. "Dad, I need to talk to you. It's important." "I'm busy. Chloe's birthday party is next week." "Dad, Noah and I are homeless." Silence. I told him everything. The bankruptcy, the eviction, the car. I told him about Noah working 20 hours a week while finishing high school. About him waking up at 4:30 a.m. and studying under streetlights. "We just need 2 weeks, I said. 2 weeks until I find work and secure an apartment. Noah's SATs are coming up. He needs a real desk, a real bed. He needs—" "There's no room." I almost laughed. "You have 4 bedrooms. Chloe needs them. All 3. She has her bedroom, her reading room, and her studio. She's developing her talents, Hansel. You wouldn't understand." Noah could sleep on the couch, on the floor, anywhere. "No," he said sharply. "Noah isn't Caroline's grandchild. He makes her uncomfortable." I couldn't speak. Then his voice shifted, something colder sliding into it. "And besides, the kid makes coffee for a living. That's the future you raised him for?" Chloe is preparing for art school. Do you see the difference? My throat closed. Before I could respond, I heard Caroline's voice in the background, then the sound of the phone shifting hands. Hansel, she said smoothly, you're 39 years old and still can't take care of yourself. Your husband left. Your mother died. Your company went bankrupt. At some point, you have to ask yourself if you're the problem. The line went dead. I sat there in the driver's seat, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to silence. My father had just mocked my son for working, for helping us survive. And the woman who helped destroy my mother's marriage had just implied that my mother's death was somehow my fault. I called back. My hands were shaking. My voice wasn't. I'm not finished, I said when he answered. Hansel, 4 bedrooms, Dad. Noah wakes up at 4:30 every morning. Did you know that? Silence. He drives to Starbucks Roastery before 5. He showers in the employee bathroom because we don't have running water. He works 8 hours. Then he studies in a parking lot. He's 17. That's not my... You mocked him for working. I didn't mock. The kid makes coffee for a living. Those were your exact words. I could hear him breathing heavily, searching for control. Caroline thinks it's best if... Caroline, I repeated slowly. So Caroline decides who lives in your house now? It's our house. Is it? Something shifted in his tone. A crack. What's that supposed to mean? It means I remember things, Dad. Things Grandma Evelyn told me when I was little. About that house. About who it actually belongs to. Don't. His voice sharpened. Don't bring my mother into this. Why not? Does she know you skipped Mom's funeral? Does she know you're refusing to help your own daughter and grandson? Does she know you laughed at Noah for having a job? My mother is 88 years old, my father snapped. She doesn't need to be dragged into this. Then you better hope I don't have to call her. He hung up. I stared at my phone, waiting for my hands to start shaking again. They didn't. For the first time in 20 years, I had pushed back. And buried beneath his anger, I had heard something I'd never heard from him before. Fear. That's when I heard a quiet sniffle behind me. I hadn't realized Noah was awake. He was sitting up in the back seat, still wearing his Starbucks Roastery apron. It was stained with coffee, and there was a fresh red welt on his hand, another burn from the espresso machine. He must have come back from his shift while I was on the phone. He had heard everything. Mom! His voice cracked. Did Grandpa really say that about my job? I turned in my seat. The parking lot lights cast long orange shadows across his face. I could see the tear tracks he hadn't bothered to wipe away. Noah, I work really hard, he said quickly, as if he needed to defend himself. I wake up early. I do everything they ask. My manager says I'm one of the best baristas there. I know, baby. He swallowed. Grandma Linda always said she was proud of me. She said working hard wasn't something to be ashamed of. She said I was just like you. She did, I whispered. Every single time she saw you. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. But Grandpa didn't even come to her funeral. He didn't help when she was sick. And now he's making fun of me for having a job while we're living in a car. I reached back and took his hand, the one with the burn mark. I know it hurts, I said softly. But listen to me. Your grandmother was proud of you. She told me that every day. And the man who couldn't show up to her funeral doesn't get to decide your worth. Noah sat quietly for a long moment. Then he asked, Who's the grandma you mentioned on the phone? The one who told you things about the house? I hesitated. I had never told him about his great-grandmother. Never explained that the house in Queen Anne, the one my father guarded like a trophy, wasn't actually his. But maybe it was time. That's your great-grandma, I said. Evelyn Parker, and I think you should know about her. The next morning, I called my father again. He answered with a heavy sigh. Hansel, I already told you. I have one question. What does Grandma Evelyn know? The silence that followed was different. Longer. Heavier. Know about what? His voice had shifted. Guarded now. Does she know you skipped Mom's funeral? Does she know you refused to let your daughter and grandson stay in her house? Does she know you mocked Noah for working? My mother doesn't need to hear about any of this. She loved Mom, didn't she? She always said Linda was the best daughter-in-law she ever had. Hansel, she was furious when you had the affair. I remember. I was 18. That was 20 years ago. Was it? Because I'm pretty sure she never forgave you. And I'm pretty sure if she found out about the funeral, about the house, about what you said to Noah, she'd have something to say. His breathing grew harsh through the receiver. You wouldn't. I don't want to, I said calmly. I'm asking for 2 weeks. A corner of your house. A place for Noah to sleep and study. That's it. I already said no. Then I hope you're ready for Grandma Evelyn to find out what kind of man her son has become. He hung up again. I lowered the phone slowly. Noah was watching me from the passenger seat now. Great-grandma, he said carefully. She owns the house Grandpa lives in? She does. Or at least she used to. I'm not sure what paperwork has been signed since, but she loved your Grandma Linda very much. She once told me Linda was like a daughter to her. Noah nodded slowly. Are we going to call her? I looked down at my father's contact one last time. The man who betrayed my mother, the man who erased me, the man who laughed at my son. Yeah, I said. I think we are. That evening, I drove toward Queen Anne. Noah was asleep in the back seat, exhausted from another 8-hour shift. I parked about a block away from the house, far enough not to be noticed. The 2-story colonial looked exactly the same. White siding, black shutters, a perfectly trimmed lawn Caroline probably paid someone to maintain, a Mercedes and a BMW in the driveway. The porch light glowed warmly, like something out of a real estate listing. Perfect, inviting. A lie. A memory surfaced. I was 10 years old, walking through that house holding Grandma Evelyn's hand. She had pointed out the crown molding, the hardwood floors, the bay window in the living room. This house is mine, Hansel, she had told me gently. I let your father live here because he's my son, but it belongs to me, and one day, if he proves worthy of it, we'll see. I remember asking her why Dad didn't buy his own house. Grandma Evelyn had smiled that day, but there had been something heavy in it. Your father has always needed someone to take care of him, she said softly. First me, then your mother. She had paused there, shaking her head. Now, I had finished the sentence in my mind. Now, Caroline. 29 years later, nothing had changed. Another memory surfaced as I sat there watching the house. Grandma Evelyn sitting in that same living room with my mother after the affair came out. Mom was crying, and Grandma was holding her hands. Linda, she had said firmly, you are the best daughter-in-law I could have ever asked for. I am so sorry my son did this to you. You deserve so much better. My mother loved her, and Grandma Evelyn loved her right back, far more deeply than she ever loved Caroline. I stared at the house in front of me. 4 bedrooms, 3 of them devoted to a 16-year-old's hobbies. And somewhere inside, my father slept comfortably in a home he had never paid for, while his grandson slept in a parking lot. Did the house still belong to Grandma Evelyn, or had she signed it over at some point? I didn't know, but I knew someone who might. Benjamin Parker answered on the second ring. Hansel, is everything okay? It was the first time in months anyone had asked that question and actually meant it. Benjamin was my father's younger brother, a real estate attorney, the only person on my father's side who had shown up to my mother's funeral. Uncle Ben, I said quietly, I need to ask you something about Grandma's house. Silence. Why? So I told him everything, the bankruptcy, the eviction, the car, my father's refusal, the words he said about Noah. When I finished, he let out a long breath. He said that about Noah's job? Benjamin's voice shifted, low and disgusted. He said the kid makes coffee for a living like that's something shameful. Noah heard all of it. My God, he muttered. That boy wakes up at 4 in the morning to help his mother survive and Edward mocks him for it? Uncle Ben, the house. Is it still hers? He paused. I could hear a door close on his end. Hansel, there's something you need to know. My heart started pounding. Grandma Evelyn was furious when Edward skipped Linda's funeral, he said. She called me that night. She was crying. I closed my eyes. She said, Benjamin, I raised a monster. Linda was like a daughter to me, and my son couldn't even show up to pay his respects. My throat tightened. She never forgave him for the affair, he continued. She tolerated Caroline for Edward's sake, but she never truly accepted her. And when she heard about the funeral, he trailed off. She's been waiting, Hansol. Waiting for what? For the right moment, to hold him accountable. The words settled over me slowly. She asks about you and Noah all the time, Benjamin added. She knows more than you think. And the house? It's still 100% in her name. Edward has been living there rent-free for 30 years. He's never paid her a single dollar. My heart was racing now. Call her, Benjamin said firmly. She'll want to hear this. And Hansel, yes? She's going to be very, very angry. I stared at Grandma Evelyn's number for a full minute. Noah was awake now, watching me. Mom, he said gently. Uncle Ben said she loved Grandma Linda. He said she asks about us. He sat up straighter. Call her. I want to know her. My finger hovered over the screen. I hadn't spoken to Grandma Evelyn in over a year. Not because I didn't care, but because every time I thought about calling, I convinced myself she didn't need my problems. She was 88 years old. She deserved peace. But Benjamin's words echoed in my head. She's been waiting. I pressed the call button. She answered after 2 rings. Hansel, is that you? Her voice was exactly the same. Sharp, clear, strong. No weakness. No hesitation. Hi, Grandma. I'm sorry I haven't called in so long. Don't apologize, she said immediately. I know you've been through hell. There was a pause. I miss you, sweetheart. And I miss your mother. Linda was the best daughter-in-law I ever had. Did you know I still keep her picture on my nightstand? I couldn't speak. Tears were already sliding down my face. Grandma, Benjamin called me, she said. He told me what's happening. He told me what Edward said. Of course he had. Grandma, I didn't want to burden you with… Burden me? Her voice hardened instantly. My grandson refuses to help his own daughter and great-grandson while they're sleeping in a car. He skipped Linda's funeral, and he mocked that boy for working? His name is Noah, I said quietly. Noah Parker. I know his name, Grandma Evelyn said. Linda talked about him all the time. She said he was the hardest-working young man she had ever met. She was so proud of him, Hansel. So proud. Noah was crying beside me now, silently listening. Grandma, I don't know what to do, I said. We don't have anywhere to go. Dad won't listen. Her voice cut through me. Edward does not own that house, I do. He has lived in my home for 30 years without paying me a cent. And he has the nerve to turn away my granddaughter and mock my great-grandson for having a job? She took a steady breath. When is Chloe's birthday party? Next Saturday, I answered. Why? Because I'm going, and you are coming. And so is Noah. Grandma, Dad didn't invite us. I am inviting you, she said firmly. I own that house. My invitation is the only one that matters. When she told me she still kept my mother's photo on her nightstand after all these years, something inside me shifted. I had believed I was alone in remembering, alone in caring, but she never forgot. And when she heard how hard Noah worked, and how Edward laughed at him, her voice changed. I had never heard her sound like that before. 3 days before Chloe's sweet 16, she called again. You're coming to the party, she said, not asking, deciding. Grandma, Dad will cause a scene. He'll try to throw us out. Let him. I don't even have anything to wear, neither does Noah. We've been living in the car. I know, she said. Benjamin is bringing clothes, simple, proper. You are not going there to impress anyone. You are going because I asked you to. I hesitated. Why do you want us there so badly? Because I want to see my great-grandson, she replied. Linda told me so much about him, and that boy deserves to hear that his grandmother would have been proud of him. My chest tightened. He's nervous, I admitted. He's afraid Grandpa will humiliate him again. Then remind him, she said calmly. I am the owner of that house. Edward lives there because I allow it. No one humiliates my family in my home. The day before the party, Uncle Benjamin brought the clothes, a navy blue dress for me, clean, simple, a white button-down for Noah. He changed in the back seat and looked at himself in the rearview mirror. Do I look okay? He asked. You look perfect. He tugged at the collar. My manager wrote me a recommendation letter. For college, she said I'm one of her most dedicated employees. He paused. I want Great-Grandma Evelyn to see it, so she knows I'm not what Grandpa said. She already knows, I said softly. The night of the party, we drove up to Queen Anne in our old Honda, the same car we'd been sleeping in. Luxury cars filled the driveway. The lawn was trimmed perfectly. Through the iron gate, the backyard was covered in pink and white decorations. String lights hung between the trees. Everything looked beautiful. A huge banner that read, Happy Sweet 16 Chloe, stretched across the back of the house. Round tables draped in white linen, a tiered cake, a DJ booth. At least 50 guests moved across the lawn in cocktail dresses and tailored suits. And then there was us. Me in a borrowed navy dress that fit just a little too loose. Noah in a white shirt that wasn't his. Faint burn marks still visible on his hands from the espresso machine. We didn't belong here. Anyone could see it the second they looked at us. Mom, Noah said quietly, his voice tight. Are you sure about this? Great-Grandma Evelyn invited us, I said. That's what matters. We stepped through the gate. It took maybe 30 seconds before someone noticed. Then the whispering began. Across the yard, my father stood laughing with a group of guests, a champagne flute in his hand. Confident, polished, completely in control. Then his eyes found me. His smile disappeared. He murmured something to the people around him and started walking toward us. Caroline appeared at his side almost instantly, her expression sharp with anger. What are you doing here? She hissed. And why did you bring him? I kept my tone steady. Grandma Evelyn invited us. She has no right to invite anyone into our house. I looked at her. Your house? I said quietly. Are you sure about that? Before she could respond, we heard it, a car door closing, footsteps on pavement. I turned toward the gate. Grandma Evelyn had arrived. My father grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the side of the yard, away from the center of the party. But we weren't far enough. People were watching. Hansol, he said in a low, dangerous tone. I told you not to come. And I told you she invited me. This is Chloe's day. You're not going to ruin it. Caroline stepped closer. You need to leave, both of you. We're not going anywhere. My father's eyes shifted to Noah, who stood stiff beside me, jaw clenched. And you brought him, he said, his lip curling. The coffee boy. What is this? Showing everyone what a great job you've done raising him? I felt Noah flinch. Dad, you're homeless, my father continued, louder now. More heads turned. Living in your car. Your husband left. Your mother died. Your company went under. And this, he gestured toward Noah. This is what you have to show for it? A kid who makes lattes? Guests stopped pretending not to listen. I saw phones come out. Hansel, do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? Showing up here like this? People are going to think what, Edward? The voice came from behind us, clear and sharp. My father turned. Grandma Evelyn stood at the edge of the patio, a worn leather briefcase in her hand. She was small, barely over 5 feet, but she carried herself in a way that made her seem taller than anyone there. Uncle Benjamin stood just behind her, quiet and composed. The entire backyard fell silent. Even the DJ cut the music. Mom, my father's voice faltered. What are you doing here? Grandma didn't answer him. She walked straight past him, Past Caroline, past the guests who were staring. She stopped in front of me and pulled me into her arms. "My girl," she whispered. "I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner." Then she turned to Noah. Her eyes took in the borrowed shirt, the burn marks, the exhaustion he couldn't hide. "You're Noah," she said gently. "Linda's great-grandson." He nodded, unable to speak. She took his hands in hers. "Your grandmother told me everything about you. She said you were the hardest worker she had ever known. She said you woke up before dawn to help your mother. She said you never complained, not once." Tears were running down Noah's face. "She was so proud of you," Grandma Evelyn said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "And so am I." The silence that followed was overwhelming. 50 people stood frozen in that perfect backyard. Champagne glasses suspended mid-air, conversations cut short, not a single person moving. Every eye in the backyard locked onto the small silver-haired woman who had just stepped into the party like she owned the place. Which, I was starting to realize, she did. Grandma Evelyn let go of Noah's hands and turned to my father. "Edward," her voice carried across the lawn without shouting. "Would you like to explain something to me?" My father's face lost its color. "Mom, this isn't the time. You didn't attend Linda's funeral." A sharp gasp moved through the guests. "Linda was married to you for 18 years. She gave you a daughter. She loved you despite everything. And when she died, you chose a piano recital over paying your respects." People glanced at each other. The whispering began. "Mom, please. I am not finished." She stepped toward him, and I watched my tall 65-year-old father take a step back. "Your daughter and great-grandson have been sleeping in their car, in parking lots. Noah wakes up at 4 in the morning to work, then studies under streetlights. And you refuse to help?" "There wasn't room," he said weakly. "There wasn't room?" Her voice sharpened. "In a 4-bedroom house? Your stepdaughter has 3 rooms for her hobbies, and you told your own family there was no space?" Caroline stepped forward. "Evelyn, with all due respect, I am not speaking to you." She turned back to my father. "Benjamin told me what you said about Noah, about his job." My father's face went white. "You mocked that boy. You laughed at him for working." Her voice trembled with anger. "That child has more dignity than you have shown in your entire life." The murmurs grew louder. "Didn't go to the funeral. They're living in a car." He mocked the kid? My father's polished image was cracking in front of everyone. "Mom," he said quietly, almost pleading, "can we talk privately?" "Privately?" she repeated. "You humiliated Hansel in public. You insulted that boy openly. Why should you be given privacy?" "This is my house." "No, Edward, it isn't." The yard fell silent. Caroline stepped in again. "We've lived here for 30 years. This is our home." "You have lived here for 30 years, Grandma said coldly, "rent-free, in a house that belongs to me. That's not—" "Be quiet." She didn't look at her. "You helped destroy my son's first marriage. You do not get to lecture me." Phones were openly recording now. A younger voice broke through. "Dad, what's happening?" Chloe stood nearby, her birthday tiara slightly crooked. "Who is she?" she asked, pointing at me. "Why are people saying she's your daughter?" My father opened his mouth, closed it, said nothing, because the truth was too ugly to speak. Grandma Evelyn slowly opened her leather briefcase. The entire yard watched. She lifted a stack of papers. "This is the deed to this house," she said clearly. "Registered in my name, Evelyn Marie Parker. It has never been transferred. This house belongs to me." My father looked stunned. "Mom, you said it would be mine." "I said it would be yours when you deserved it." Her eyes were steady. "Do you deserve it?" Silence. "You cheated on Linda. You abandoned your daughter. You skipped her funeral. You refused to help Hansel. And you mocked your own great-grandson for working." Each accusation landed. "You have lived in my home for 30 years without paying $1. Do you truly believe you've earned ownership?" Uncle Benjamin stepped forward. As a real estate attorney, I can confirm the property remains solely in our mother's name. Edward has no legal claim. He has been allowed to live here as a guest. The crowd shifted. Some guests stepped back. Others whispered in clusters. Phones remained raised, and my father stood there, watching everything he built come apart in front of him. "Dad?" Chloe's voice shook. "What does this mean? Is this not our house?" My father said nothing. Grandma Evelyn answered instead. "It means, child, that your father has been living a lie. And it's time the truth comes out." Then she turned to me and her expression softened. "Hansel, Noah, you're moving into the downstairs bedroom tonight." "You can't do this!" Caroline's voice cut sharply through the silence. "This is our home. Chloe needs those rooms." Grandma didn't even look at her. "Hansel, Noah, you'll take the guest room on the first floor. There's a desk, a proper bed, and a bathroom. It will be enough for now." "Mom, please." My father reached for her. She stepped back. "Don't touch me." Her voice was quiet, but deadly. "You've had 30 years to be a decent man. You failed." "What about Chloe?" Caroline pulled her daughter close. "She has her studio, her library. She needs those spaces." "Chloe needs one bedroom," Grandma said firmly. "Like every other teenager. She does not need 3 rooms while her nephew sleeps in a car." Then she looked at Noah. "You," she said gently. "You need a real place to study, to sleep, to rest after those long shifts. Your grandmother Linda would have wanted that. And so do I." Noah couldn't speak. He just nodded, tears still on his face. Uncle Benjamin stepped forward, calm and professional. "If Edward and Caroline refuse to follow the property owner's decision, I can assist my mother in beginning formal eviction proceedings. Under Washington law, they would have 30 days to vacate. That is the legal right of any homeowner." Guests were slipping away now. No one congratulated Chloe. No one said goodbye to my father. The party was over. I stepped closer to him. "I didn't want this," I said quietly. "You could have given us 2 weeks. That's all I asked for. 2 weeks, and none of this would have happened." He didn't answer. Didn't even look at me. Caroline led Chloe toward the house, both of them crying. My father stood alone in his perfect backyard, surrounded by empty tables and abandoned champagne glasses. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel sorry for him. "Mom," he tried again, voice breaking. "Can we talk about this privately? This is humiliating." "Humiliating?" Grandma's eyes flashed. "You humiliated Hansel by calling her a failure in front of your guests. You humiliated Noah by mocking his job. You humiliated yourself by choosing a recital over your ex-wife's funeral. Do not speak to me about humiliation." "I can explain." "You've had 20 years to explain. I'm done listening." Caroline stormed into the house, Chloe following behind, mascara streaked down her face, her birthday tiara gone. Her sweet 16 had turned into something else entirely, and she clearly didn't understand why. "Grandma Evelyn?" Chloe's voice was small. "I don't understand. Who is Hansel? Why are people saying she's my sister?" Grandma's expression softened slightly. "That is not your fault, child. Your parents chose to lie to you. Hansel is your half-sister. She is Edward's daughter from his first marriage to Linda, who passed away 8 months ago. Your father hid that because he wanted to pretend his first family didn't exist." Chloe looked at my father. "Dad, is that true?" He said nothing. That was answer enough. She turned to me, really seeing me now. The borrowed dress, the tired eyes, the exhaustion I couldn't hide. "You're my sister," she whispered. "Half-sister," I said gently. "But yes. And you were living in your car, while I had 3 bedrooms." "It's not your fault," I told her. "You didn't know." Her face crumpled. "I'm so sorry." Grandma rested a hand on Noah's shoulder. "Linda was one of the kindest women I've ever known," she said softly. "She would have been proud of the man you are becoming. Don't let anyone, especially Edward, make you question that." Noah wiped his face. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for saying that." I'm not just saying it, Grandma replied. I mean it. Did you see the moment when Grandma told Noah his grandmother would have been proud of him? He broke. My 17-year-old son, who had spent weeks waking up at 4 in the morning, working full shifts, never once complaining, finally let himself cry. Because for the first time since my mother passed away, someone from my father's family saw him, told him he mattered, told him his grandmother's love hadn't disappeared, and Chloe, she had no idea. She didn't know I existed. She didn't know our father skipped a funeral for her piano recital. She was just a teenager caught in the middle of her parents' lies. So let me ask you something. Should I forgive my father after everything he's done? Or are some boundaries necessary just to survive? Stay with me. We're almost at the end. The party was completely over. The last guests slipped out through the gate. Some paused to squeeze my hand. Others patted Noah on the shoulder. A few women I'd never met hugged me quietly. I had no idea Edward had another daughter, one of them said. He always talked like you didn't exist. That's because to him, I answered softly, I didn't. A neighbor, an older man who said he'd known my father for years, stopped in front of Noah. Son, I heard what your grandfather said, he told him. Working hard at your age, helping your mother the way you do, that's something to be proud of. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Thank you, sir, Noah said. The man nodded and walked away. As he passed my father, he didn't speak, didn't even look at him. That's when I noticed Edward was still standing in the same place, alone. Empty champagne glasses and abandoned plates surrounded him, the remains of a celebration that had collapsed. Above him, the banner still hung, Happy Sweet 16, Chloe. It fluttered in the wind. Uncle Benjamin stepped beside me. The video is already spreading, he said quietly. Someone posted it in the neighborhood Facebook group. It's on X now, too. He paused. I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt exhausted. I didn't want this, I said. I know, Benjamin replied, but he made his choices, 30 years of them. Caroline had gone inside with Chloe. I could hear crying through the open windows. The banner tore loose on one side and hung crooked in the breeze. No one fixed it. That night, Noah and I moved into the downstairs guest room. It wasn't big, a queen bed, a desk by the window, a small bathroom. But after 3 weeks in a car, it felt unreal. Noah sat at the desk and ran his hands across it like he was testing whether it was real. I can study here, he said quietly. I can actually sit at a real desk. You can. He opened his backpack and pulled out his SAT prep book, worn from being used under parking lot lights. He placed it on the desk and smoothed the pages. Then he took out a folded sheet of paper. My manager wrote this, he said, the recommendation letter for college. I unfolded the letter and read the first lines. Noah is one of the most dedicated and hardworking employees I've ever had the privilege of managing. Despite facing personal challenges that would overwhelm most adults, he has never complained, never missed a shift, and consistently exceeds expectations. My throat tightened. Grandma Evelyn appeared in the doorway, holding a framed photograph. I thought you might want this, she said. It was my mother, a picture I had never seen before, young, smiling, standing in the garden of this very house. She looked about my age. That was taken the first year she was married to Edward, Grandma said quietly, before everything went wrong. I've kept it all these years. She was such a light in this family. I set the photo on the nightstand. We'll put it somewhere special, I said. She nodded, then looked at Noah. Your grandmother would be proud of you, she said again. Never forget that. I won't, he whispered. Later that evening, Uncle Benjamin called. Good news, he said. Your unemployment benefits were approved. 5 weeks of back pay should be deposited soon. For the first time in months, I felt my shoulders relax. A week later, my father knocked on the guest room door. Noah was at work, shorter shifts now that gas wasn't an issue. I almost ignored it, but I opened the door. Edward stood there looking older than I'd ever seen him. The polished confidence was gone. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He sat on the edge of the bed, hands clasped. For a moment he said nothing. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "For what I said about Noah. About his job." "For what exactly?" I asked. He looked confused. "What do you mean? Are you sorry because you hurt us, or because everyone saw it?" Silence. "I was under pressure," he muttered. "Caroline was upset. The party." "You didn't attend Mom's funeral," I interrupted. "You didn't help with her medical bills. You didn't even call while she was dying. And when your grandson was waking up at 4 in the morning to work while we were living in a car, you laughed at him." "Hansel, Noah heard you, Dad. He heard his grandfather mock him for trying to help his mother survive. Do you understand what that does to a 17-year-old? His eyes dropped. I didn't think. "No," I said quietly. "You didn't." We sat in silence. Then he asked, "What do you want from me?" There it was. Not "I'll change," not "I'll do better." Just "what do you want?" He still didn't understand. "I don't want anything," I said. "I just need you to understand why I can't pretend everything is fine." He nodded slowly, started to speak, then stopped. And he left. 3 weeks after the party, things began to shift. I received a job offer from a small interior design firm in Bellevue. It wasn't what I used to make, but it was enough. Enough to rent a 1-bedroom apartment for Noah and me. Enough to start over. The unemployment back pay came through, $3,850. I used it to pay off the last of Caleb's credit card debt. It felt like removing a weight I'd carried for 2 years. Noah took his SATs. When the results arrived, he scored in the top 15% nationwide. His manager at Starbucks Roastery wrote him a glowing recommendation, and he was promoted to team lead trainee, the youngest in the store. "Mom," he asked, holding up the score report, "do you think Grandma Linda would be proud?" "She always was," I told him. "Always." The day before we moved into our new apartment, Grandma Evelyn called me into her room. "Sit down," she said, patting the bed beside her. I did. "I've been thinking about the future," she said. "About this house. About what happens when I'm gone." "Grandma, you don't have to." "Hush, let me finish." She took my hand. "I'm rewriting my will. Edward will not inherit this house. It will go to you and Noah. I don't need." "This isn't about need," she said firmly. "It's about what's right." She squeezed my fingers. "Your mother loved this house. She was happy here once, before everything fell apart. I want it to stay with people who will honor that." I couldn't speak. "You've endured so much, Hansel. Caleb, your mother's illness, the bankruptcy, Edward's cruelty, all of it, but you never gave up. You never let it destroy you." Her eyes filled with tears. "Linda would be proud of the woman you've become." I leaned forward and hugged her, this small, fierce woman who stood up for me when no one else did. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank me by living well," she replied. "That's all I ask." The day we moved out, I sent my father one final message. "Dad, I don't hate you. I spent years hoping you would change, hoping you would see me, hoping I could earn a place in your new life. I'm done hoping. Grandma gave us shelter when you wouldn't. She told Noah he mattered when you mocked him. She remembered Mom when you didn't even attend her funeral. I'm not cutting you off out of anger. I'm doing it to protect myself and my son. If you ever truly change, not because you're embarrassed, but because you understand what you've done, you know how to reach me. Until then, goodbye." He never responded. Caroline texted once a week later, accusing me of tearing the family apart. I didn't reply. Chloe did. 3 days after we moved, she messaged me. "Hansel, I'm sorry. I didn't know about you or what happened with Dad. I feel awful. I had 3 bedrooms while you and Noah had nothing. I'm really sorry," I wrote back. "You don't owe me an apology. None of this was your fault. If you want to get to know me and Noah, we're here." Noah sent her a message too. "Hey, it's your nephew. Don't stress. I make coffee for a living, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let me know if you ever want to hang out." That night, in our small, simple apartment, I placed my mother's photo on the bookshelf. "We made it, Mom," I said quietly. "Noah and I are going to be okay." He sat at his desk, laptop open, working on college applications. He looked up. "Mom? Yes? Thank you. For not giving up. For fighting for us." And I walked over and held him. "I didn't win because of the house," I said. "I won because you know that waking up at 4 in the morning to help your family is something to be proud of, no matter what anyone says." He hugged me tightly. "Grandma would be proud," he whispered. "She is," I said. "She is." That's my story. My mother died 2 months ago, and my father couldn't be bothered to attend her funeral. Then he mocked my son, my hardworking, dedicated son, for having a job that helped us survive. But my grandmother remembered. She remembered my mother. She remembered what family is supposed to mean. And when it mattered, she stood up for us. This story isn't really about a house. It's about dignity. It's about the quiet strength of a 17-year-old who wakes up at 4 a.m. to help his mother survive, and the difference between a man who mocks hard work and a woman who honors it. Blood doesn't automatically make someone family. Love does. Loyalty does. Showing up when it matters does. My father had 30 years to choose integrity. My grandmother chose it in a single moment. And that's the truth I want you to carry with you. You are not defined by the people who failed you. You are defined by how you rise anyway. If someone has ever belittled your job, your struggle, or your worth, let this be your reminder. Honest work is never shameful. Surviving is not weakness. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. Sometimes forgiveness is possible. Sometimes distance is necessary. Both can be acts of self-respect. If this story spoke to you, tell me where you're watching from and what part hit you the hardest. I read every comment. And if you believe hard work deserves respect,